big chapter of Salah, which took literally 16, 17 months. But we had in between fiqh of zakah covered from the book. Last time when we were in Ramadan, we went through the summary of Nur al-Idah with regards to fiqh of fasting. But I didn't go through the book itself because I already had slides ready from previous talks on fiqh. So I just said, let's just carry on. Let brothers have a bit of refresher course for Ramadan. This time, inshallah, we go through the book so that we have covered the book. And as I mentioned last week, inshallah, we've covered this. We're only left with Hajj. And after, inshallah, Ramadan, we'll do Hajj, finish off with Hajj. And inshallah, with New Year, maybe we can start off with Quduri, which is the second text after this, which covers your 4 basic or 5 basic, fiqh principles, but also with transaction. And that's very relevant. We know something about prayer, something about zakah and salah, but we hardly know anything about transaction. Maybe 1 or 2 points which we have learned from our parents are, family members or someone, just knowing that this is haram and this is halal, that's it. But what exactly is Sharia guidance with regards to transaction, any, interaction with people, mu'ashara, ma'isha, everything, finances, and then nikah and talaq, the divorce and marriage, what are the rulings there? We need to have a lot more deeper understanding. So once we've covered that, then we go to finish that round, come back to salah, zakah, and these things, so that it will be after a year and a half, or maybe 2 or 3 years later, whenever that, this is 2 or 3 times the book Nur al-Idah, so it may take even longer, so what? However, it takes, it doesn't matter. As long as we continue to learn and die as a learner, nothing is bad, inshallah ta'ala. Okay, so fiqh of fasting from the book Nur al-Idah. So what is fasting? As you will know, literally it means imsak, stopping, restraining, abstinence, restraining yourself from doing certain thing. And we know it is within the daylight, from dawn to dusk, dawn to sunset, not eating and drinking. Nothing should go in this cavity of the stomach from any passages, from any side, any part. Even if you have a hole here, that colostomy, maybe you have someone in the family, oh God forbid, who had that leg cancer in the bowel, so they would have an opening because they cannot pass the normal way. They have to have opening here with a bag on it. It's called colostomy. That's an opening. And sometimes people have opening here with a tube going through it to feed them. It's called peg feed or rig. Those are different types of feeding they get through. So anything that would lead to cavity, stomach cavity, you cannot have anything going through it. But the ruling would be different whether it's a food thing or food or water, or it is something else. For example, chewing on paper. That's not food. So the ruling would be different, although it would nullify anything that enters this cavity, stomach cavity, from any passage, front, back, this, wherever it goes through. As long, if it comes here, the fasting is gone. So we have to restrain, we have to hold it. So now with that, you would know all the passages. When we cover the, what nullifies the fasting, many things will be very clear. It has to come from those manafil, and it should enter the stomach. And with that is attached your brain. And the reason for that is the traditional scholars will say anything that goes straight to brain as well would nullify your fast as well. We'll cover that when we cover the nullifiers. Why that is, because you could see it says the same legal status is applied to brain. Because traditionally, the medical science in those days, I'm talking about 500, 600, even 1,000 years back, they felt that somehow stomach has some connection with the brain, some connection, like cavity-wise. A cavity is this is a cavity, and this is not right. We know that there's no connection. So their judgment on certain things might not be as clear-cut. So we would have to then update it. Like some people in the past thought, even 50 years back, they thought there's a connection between the eardrum inside there to the mouth. So if you put something through it, like eardrop, it will come to the mouth. It should nullify your, technically should, but it doesn't. It doesn't, because we know there's no connection. Unless you have a problem with your eardrum is being like ruptured. So obviously that's infection. That's like, causing a problem. not normally. There's no connection. There is a connection, but that is close connection to the eustachian tube. Do you remember the biology? The tube going in the center and connected to the throat. Similarly, you have connection to the nose. Yes, you definitely have connection to the nose. Okay, you must have done it several times. You know, you do that, something is dripping at the back of the throat, so that's no problem. With eyes, there is a connection, an indirect connection, but that is not taken literally, because Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam would apply kuhl, you know, the surma, lead. He would apply in Ramadan while fasting, and even you would feel that blackness when you spit out. And how that is, because we all have this inner canthus. That's that thingy where you normally have to clean. That small gland there, it secretes the what you call the tears. Yes, the tear gland. There is a small hole. The tears flow all around, and they just come back here. The dirty stuff stays here, and the water goes down to a canal. We call it lacrimal duct, a small duct that goes inside the nose, and nose has connection to the throat. That is why it is indirect to the nose. So when you, I don't know whether you cry that much or not, maybe some youngsters did. When you cry too much, what happens? You start feeling that you're dripping the nose as well. There's no runny nose. Actually, it's a tear coming from that opening into the nose. And you cry, and you actually get some as well. You need tissue for your nose. Have you seen people using tissue when they're crying for the nose? Well, they're not crying from nose, by the way. But the tear coming through that opening. Anyway, but even then, it doesn't nullify your fast because of the hadith of Rasulullah, or the action of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. But even if you've done this intentionally or unintentionally, you can't say, oh, I did it. There's a difference between accidentally and unintentionally. Understand the difference. What is the difference? Doing something unintentionally and doing something accidentally. There's a difference between the two. Maybe in English you might not find too big a difference, but there is a difference actually. Okay. If you did something, so if you were fasting and you knew that I'm fasting, and you said, what, let me do my wudu. And doing wudu, you just gargled as a normal habit, as a natural habit. You took water in it, and you knew that it is like I'm fasting, and you did gargle accidentally. Some water went through the throat. What happens to your wudu? Oh, you're fasting. Fasting is gone. Okay, you still have to keep that fast though. You can't eat now. You still have to keep that fast. Means it is not counted, but you still have to do it. You have to behave like a fasting person. You can't then go and break it, but you still have to make up for a fast afterwards. So that is accidental. You didn't mean it, but unknowingly, and you didn't know that I was fasting. You came normally as you would normally come from school, came home, I was so hot. Yeah, Mama, I'm just getting ready for wudu, but so hot. With your wudu, you just drank a little bit of water. And you, oh my goodness, I was fasting. But at the time of drinking that water, you didn't know that you were fasting. You knew, but you couldn't remember. You've forgotten about that. So your fasting is maintained. It's not broken. It's not nullified. And that is why when you see someone eating or drinking while they're fasting, what you should do? You look at the person. Is that someone elderly, frail, and weak person, and it's very hot? Let them eat and drink. Come out of that. Don't remind them. You don't remind them. Let them have that extra meal. Let them finish their burger or whatever they're having. They would realize whenever they would realize, they stop at that time. Now, the minute you realize, I was fasting, and then you saw the last bit which was in the mouth, then your fast is gone. Because now you did it knowingly that you were fasting. Before that, you had a whole big biryani plate. You can't have a second one after that, and I've already eaten. Let me finish. No, you can't do that. You have to leave exactly at that point, the minute you realize. So that's the difference between accidentally, where you knew it, and unintentionally, means forgetfully. You did it without realizing. Oh, I didn't know. I've completely forgotten about fasting. It was so hot. So that's it. So for the young, for the frail and weak and young, someone adults completely fit and well, oh, you're fasting. before they come here. Stop them there and then. Whatever they're doing, stop them. Just remind them so that they feel what they're fasting for, inshallah. Okay, but that's advice, general advice. So again, you cannot have any relationship, and with the intention though. So you didn't have intention of fasting, but you happened to sleep whole morning because you were so tired with your night shift that you slept before Fajr and you're just sleeping whole day long until Maghrib, and you wake up for Maghrib and say, let me just break my fast. No, you haven't had intention. Your abstinence for everything is not counted. You have to have an intention. Without intention, no fast. Well, without intention, most actions are not counted. But for fasting, you have to have. For wudu, so what you may ask, why wudu? For wudu, there's no intention. For fasting, you have to have intention. Why there's difference? Because wudu itself is not an act of ibadah. You can't keep doing wudu. Let me do 5 wudus now, one after the other, get more reward. No, you wouldn't. You would actually be punished. You've done a mistake. It's disliked, and if you keep wasting time, you are musrifin, from musrifin, the wasteful people, and Allah doesn't like those. So we, in fact, to the point that Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, if you are by the seashore and you're taking water from the river bank, doing wudu in the sea or in the ocean, even then don't wash your hand more than 3 times. If you've done more than 3 times, you have done wastefulness. You are spendthrift. You are mubazzirun or musrifun from among those. Ya Rasulullah, we are by the sea. Doesn't matter. The rule is rule. You only use what is needed. Right? That is the significance of water by the sea. What about in the tap? That we open and talk to people, and while it's running, doing massage hand there, and massage, water is running, and trying to put this leg down, oh, it's too tight, my trouser, I'm just still running. And then taking second one off if you're too big, and try to put in there, still trying to control yourself. All that time the water is running. Is that permissible? Clearly not. Clearly not. And this is one of the biggest things that we do. And then we hope that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will shower His mercy upon us. Or we'll pay tax or whatever, the bill for that doesn't matter. You can't waste because you can waste. Wastefulness is, as Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, those who are wasteful are the brothers of shaitan. So we can't be like that. Anyway, so it must be Muslim, sane, mature, and free from anything that would preclude them from having fasting, like women in their special days. You don't have to say intention with your tongue. You don't have to say, oh, I have this intention in your heart. If you woke up for suhoor, that is intention. That is counted as well. And in the beginning of the month, you just say, I have intention. As the Ramadan month comes, as we sight the moon, I have intention of fasting the whole month. And then for each night, keep thinking that I will wake up for the morning. Even if you don't wake up, that's fine. The intention is done. Make sure that we have the intention. And we'll come to intention in a little bit more detail because that's important to know. So for Ramadan fast, and there are certain other fasts, you can make intention up to midday. And we're talking about the midday, not 12 all the time. It could be different. So from the dawn to sunset, take that time and divide into half. That is the midday. So now, obviously, in summer month, the 4:44, keep it 5 just to make it easy. And Maghrib is 7, make it 8. So how many hours? 12 plus 15 hours. So 7.5. So 7.5, add that to 5 would be 7. So 5 plus 7, 12 plus 1.5. So 7.5. So 12:30. That would be, so you can make your intention if you didn't make it at night time to that time. 12:30 roughly. So it has to be before that time. Otherwise your fast is not accepted. So for Ramadan fast. Okay, so you can have that intention. What causes it to be obligatory is obviously the month of Ramadan. The minute we sight the moon or we get confirmation the moon has been sighted wherever, then we have to be in that time to accept that it is obligatory on me now, provided that I have all 4 conditions made, Muslim, sane, and free from certain diseases and things like that. Yeah, an adult. It has to be adults. So you use young people, those who are immature, they are not obligated by Sharia to fast. And you say, why did my father keep making me fast in the month of Ramadan? Long day. Yeah, because just to get in this habit. If you do not learn at a young age, you struggle all your life. Those who do not do fasting at a young age, when they come to Islam in their 20s and 30s or whenever, this is the biggest thing they can't do. It's very, very difficult because you're not used to doing it. So make sure that we don't fail on that. No matter what, fast every day, regardless. And anyway, it's getting shorter, very, very short now. It's literally 2 to 3 hours less than a few years ago. And we'll continue to get shorter and shorter. So get in the habit, inshallah ta'ala. Obviously, it is obligatory. We have to make up for all the missed fasts if someone has missed. So adults, if they missed for sickness, for anything, they have to make up. Ever, from the day they attain puberty, any Ramadan they missed, for whatever reason, they have to make up for that. Even for women, for the special days, they have to make up for. Even if they were breastfeeding, they still have to make up for those fasts. Even if they were having postnatal bleeding, they still have to fast for those days. Fasting, you're not exempted from. Now, for those who are not in a Muslim land, there's one more condition, which is that they should know so they did not need to, they are not sinful because they did not know about that. Okay. So now that those were the reasons which would make it as an excuse to not fast during that time, and you don't need to ever fast. But these three are the conditions which, when they're there, you don't have to fast now, but you have to make up at a later date. So if you have ill health that is only like temporary, even if you have COVID or whatever underlying condition, it would just get better in say 1 month, 6 months, a year, whenever. As long as this is treatable, as long as you would get over with this condition, diabetes, heart attack, or whatever, stroke, cancer, operated, gone, you still have to make up for those fasts. Now, there's a difference of opinion. Certain imams would say you can pay fidya. You can just pay the money for that. Feed 2 people for each fast and you're okay. Certain imams say you have to do this and fast as well. In Hanafi school, you just have to make up. You can't pay fidya. Fidya is not counted. You can't do it. It's not like, oh, let me just do it. No, it's not counted. There will be enough in charity anyway. So you have to make up for those fasts, provided that you can get over with this illness. And likewise, a traveler. So the traveler, as a traveler, what is the definition of travel? Where do you go up to? Yeah. Second. More than 60 miles? Nope. Exact number? 54 or 48. So 48 is fine as well. 54 is fine as well. There's difference of opinion. 54 is safer, but 48 is fine as well. Because according to, how do we measure? The hadith says 3 days worth of travel. Now, 3 days worth of travel on a camel. So if you're traveling for 3 days, and it does not include your, it does include your time when you spend in sleeping, resting. Now, so to assess that, literally, by minutes and minutes, it's not easy in modern time, because you do not know how long will it take. So what happened, people would just go by, okay, if I were to be, because they had this travel on a regular basis and they knew it. So if I go from Makkah to whichever different city I need to go to, Sham for Syria, was safe, then people knew it. How long will it take from here to there? So if you ask me in those days, okay, how long, after 3 days, where would you be? You would know exactly where you would be. You can pinpoint literally within that vicinity, people will be there. So people, this is how they knew. They said, okay, this is they've just started going now. Let me go on horse, because by the time they reach the city, I would on my horse be quicker, because they are traveling. For them, it's 3 days there. For me, it would be 1.5 days or 2 days. I can make a different route or whatever. People just work out that way to inform the others, or there's a tribe coming, or there's attack going on. This is how they would get their intelligence, everything like that. So they can pinpoint exactly if you're going on this, because there were not many different routes. You can just detour here. Your TomTom will say turn right and go left and what. This is the only way you can go. You're stuck. This is the only way. So if the enemy is coming from front, you can either stop and go back, but you can't say, okay, let me get. There are very few occasions where you can just swerve from there. You'll be within the same vicinity. The people knew it. The tracks were trodden by people over the years, through and through to the deserts and these forests, and even to in between the hillocks. So they knew it all. To measure it now is a little bit different. So anyway, and difficult. So what scholars have done, they've just taken it from the historical account of people, how they did it. So 48 is definitely right, but 54 is safer. So if you did 54, so the teaching that we do through the book that we go through with these kids, they know it. That's why he said 54, and that's right. You say 54 in the book in the exam, yeah. 48 is fine as well, though. Okay, because the An-Nasiha publications that they have taken that view, and we're happy with that. So 54. Okay, so if you're traveling for less than 14 days, for more than 48 miles or 54 miles, then you are a traveler. You can opt for not fasting, but generally it is recommended to fast, because the travel these days is not that difficult. But to fast afterward is very difficult on your own. So during the travel, you're there for 2 weeks in Ramadan. Some ways, I'm not going to fast. And then what else would you do if you don't fast? What are you going to do in Ramadan, even if you're on holiday? What they say you can do when no one, especially in the Muslim world, there's nothing there to do. So sensibly, you should just fast, inshallah. But anyway, if someone wants to not fast, they have to make up later on. So intention, and as we said, that they should be free from all those sort of things, and obviously they should not be breaking anything. Now, one condition is very important. People ask this question, and the book mentioned this. That is important. It is not a condition that you should be purified and clean when you're fasting. So people ask this question. Oh, and the couple didn't fast the next morning. They said, oh, we had relationship last night and we got late. We couldn't wake up for Fajr. By the time we woke up, it was like, we had half an hour. We could have eaten something. But we said, oh, you know what? We haven't got shower. So now we didn't fast. What do we do? SubhanAllah, that's a big, big craze. Completely wrong understanding. You do not need to be in the state of purity. It's better to take shower in the night, but you don't have to. So it doesn't, negate the fact that you can fast. Likewise, having any sort of sexual defilement, you can continue with your fast. For men, for women, even if they had it, whatever sort of discharge. Okay, is that clear? Even the clothing, even if your body, it doesn't matter. So the types of fast then. So there is obligatory fast, which is fard fast, is Ramadan fast, plus qada. Any fast that you missed, you have to make up. That is fard as well. And kafara. Kafara means penalty. So penalty fast. So whenever you have done something wrong, not everything, but a few things. So kafara of breaking the fast intentionally with food or with having relationship, with drink. In the Ramadan month, you're fasting and you say, I can't carry on, I'm having food. That's a big, big sin. You have to fast 60 in a row. 60 in a row. Now you fast 60, you couldn't even stop that one. You couldn't maintain that one. 60 fast. Now 59, you've done 59. 60, you said, what, can't be bothered. You have to do 60 again. That's a good punishment, isn't it? So that should be enough as a deterrent to even think about breaking your fast. Don't ever go there. Don't say Allah is merciful. Yeah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala being merciful doesn't have any, saying here. This is your obligation. You do your bits. You can't ask, oh, you are merciful, please pay me. I haven't worked for a whole month. But that's irrelevant. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala forgives. Allah will forgive everything, inshallah, if you wanted to. But that's up to Him. You don't guide Allah what to do. Allah is telling you to do it, and you say, you know what? I'm not going to do it. Ya Allah, you do what you need to do. Na'udhu billah. Is that the relationship we have with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? Are we in charge and boss here? Obviously not. So we have to submit to the command of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So don't ever come with excuse, oh, Allah is merciful. Yes, Allah is merciful. So what does that mean? Shall we start worshipping someone else? Well, Allah is merciful. No, clearly not. If your son say the same thing to you, Dad, you are merciful. Let me just punch you. And the second time, let me do it again because you're merciful. Would you let it happen the second time or even the first time? So don't behave and follow shaitan. And these are all devilish ideas. Even say that, it's audacity. Allah commands you to do something and someone reminds you of that, you say, oh, Allah is merciful. That's a grave sin. This is worse than being shaitan. Wallahi, this is worse than being shaitan. Shaitan didn't challenge Allah for any of the worship other than that one thing that he didn't. What did he do? Ya Allah, I don't accept the command. He didn't say that I accept it. He said, this command is not right, O Allah, and I will prove it to you. So what we are saying, Ya Allah, the command is right, but please leave it. Yeah, no. You're not, serious about this. Please don't let it be. Astaghfirullah. Completely ridiculous idea. So don't ever say that. Even if something happened like that, repent. Go straight and sajda, astaghfar. Ya Allah, I will never do that. And don't try to save your face or your embarrassment in front of people by saying, don't worry, Maulvi, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is merciful. It's very common for people to say that. And you feel like, having your, pile erection, we call it, the hair get like, subhanallah, how could you dare say that in the company, in the presence of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? I'm not saying that we don't believe that. We should all believe that. But when you make a mistake and then you say Allah, a man came to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam was, dividing all that booty and everything to many people. They all get whatever they wanted. And this man came. He said, "Ittaqillah, O Muhammad." He said, "O Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam." He said to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, "Fear Allah. You're not doing it justly. You're not doing with justice." He didn't say it, but he meant it. O Muhammad, fear Allah in distribution. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, "If I am not fearful of Allah, who else would be?" Now you're telling Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam to be, although saying ittaqillah, fear Allah, is something Allah said to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam in Quran several places. Allah said to all of us. But are you allowed to say this to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam? Ya Rasulullah, why don't you pray? Astaghfirullah. Are you going to tell Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam about this? Have faith in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This is, if it is done with disrespect, this is kufr, clear-cut kufr. If you disrespect, say it disrespectfully. So many a time, when we talk back to our parents in many ways, it's not kufr, but it's a grave sin. This suggests that we've got very diseased heart. When father said that, yeah, but do you fear that? You do it. In return, not, it's a shaitanic way, bad way. So anyway, so kafara. So that is 60 fast. Plus what else do you have kafara for? For dhihar and for li'an. Well, not for li'an, but for dhihar definitely. And there are a few other things. We'll leave it. We'll cover inshallah in other part of the hudud inshallah ta'ala. That is why we need to know all those, where the kafara is. Killing someone as a Muslim, and accidentally. There's kafara for that as well. Okay. And kafara yameen as well. So if you have taken oath and you broke it, you did the proper oath and yet you broke it, then 3 fasts. Okay. And then the wajib one is any fast that you have broken, you voluntary fast. Voluntary fast. So you remember, you just wanted to do like, oh, tomorrow's Thursday, I want to fast. You did that without any problem on your own, or even today or any other day, other than those those days. And then midday, you can actually break that fast if you wanted to break it, but you have to make up for that afterwards. So many a time the intention is that I would fast unless there's a reason. So I was fasting, a friend came to house, and I didn't want to show him that, I'm fasting. I want to keep it between me and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Don't want to expose my fasting to him. And since he came, I offered him something to eat. Obviously, as a guest, if you don't honor them, you don't eat, they feel like, what's the problem? Yes, they're that close, you can tell them. Sometimes you don't want to tell them. You can break your fast. There's no sin for that. For voluntary fast, not fard fast, obviously. But then you have to make up for that fast at some other point. That's the one they're talking about. Wajib. Okay, then you have to. This is only in Hanafi school. Imam Shafi'i said, it was voluntary. Don't worry. So we say, no, but it was voluntary until you didn't do it. The minute you did it, it became wajib. Because Allah says in the Quran, La tubtilu a'malakum. Do not nullify your action. So you've already done something. Why are you leaving in the middle? Carry on. So more encouragement there. But since there's difference of opinion, it is wajib, not fard. The ayah, according to some imam, meant differently and different meaning to it. And there's a possibility. That's why we don't say it's fard. Otherwise, if someone doesn't believe in it, would be coming out of the fold of Islam, walking out. So it's not fard. It is wajib. In Hanafi school, you have to make up for those fasts. Sunnah, Ashura, for example, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam fasted the 10th, the Ashura, the 10th of Muharram. And it's quite meritorious, they're highly meritorious. 9th of Arafah, the 9th of Dhul Hijjah, another important day. And likewise, Mustahab one or the recommended one are the ones, Ayyamul Biyad, which is 13th, 14th, 15th of every month. So to fast 3 days in a month is sunnah. To fast 13, 14, and 15 as 3 days, 2 sunnahs together. Fasting 3 days every month. Rasulullah would fast 3 days a month. But specifically those days, you got reward of doing 2 sunnah together. In nafil and sunnah action, you can have multiple intentions. You get more intentions. Likewise, Thursdays and Mondays, and 6th fast of Shawwal from 2nd of Shawwal onwards, with gap or without gap. And Siyam Dawood alayhi salam. Dawood alayhi salam, someone companion asked, Ya Rasulullah, what is the best fast? He said, this is the fast of Dawood alayhi salam, which is alternate day. He fasts one day, not fast the other day. It is difficult to do, obviously, in summer, but my mentor and Sheikh, my teacher, Sheikh Salim Dhurat Hafidahullah from Leicester, he advised us, as was advised by Sayyidina Abdullah ibn Umar anhuma to his students. He said, when the winter days come, he would gather his students and he would say, oh people, oh Ahlul Quran, oh the people of Quran, means the student, the ulama. Fast. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given you these long days, long nights and short days so that you can fast during the day. It's easy. And rest throughout the night and you can wake up for tahajjud. So long nights for long tahajjud. Short days for easy fast. So do both of those. Means take the benefit from it. And he's telling his people in Makkah, Medina, Kufa, Baghdad, those places. And they're close to equator and they do not have too much fluctuation with regards to time. The time remains more or less the same in Middle East and in Southeast Asia. The time is like few hours, 1 or 2 hours here and that's it, 2 or 3 hours maximum. Whereas in here, you 10 hours fast, 8 hours fast in the winter, in December. So what we would advise, and which I would advise you all, inshallah ta'ala, from November, December, January, February, 4 months, fast alternate days. So you get the sunnah of Sayyidina Dawood alayhi salam. Also it's easy. You're following the instruction of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, also Abdullah ibn Umar's instruction, and getting the best fast there as well. And one beautiful thing is that, as Maulana Zakaria rahmatullah would mention, he was in Haram. He spent his last days, last month, last year, many years, actually in Medina. He's buried there, mashallah. He's an amazing man. Anyway, what happened? He, the one who wrote Fadail A'mal, the Tabligh al-Hisab thing. So amazing man, amazing scholar, one of the best scholars in hadith mastery, top level hadith mastery. His commentary on Muwatta Imam Malik, his commentary on Sahih al-Bukhari, oh my goodness, it's commentary on so many things. It's amazing. In Arabic, by the way. So Arabs say Shaykh al-Hadith. They hear his name. He is really the Shaykh al-Hadith, Shaykh al-Hadith of the last 50, 70 years, mashallah, but he passed away many years ago. So he was buried there. So he was in Makkah for Hajj, and then he spent quite some time, few months there, and he fasted 60 days in a row there. And why did he do that? He said to his close associates afterwards, it just came to mind, he said, it just came to my mind that there were many Sahaba, many pious people in the past who made a mistake of either accidentally, breaking the fast or doing zihar or some other actions, which made it obligatory for them to fast as expiation, as kafara for 60 in a row. So in this action, although it was obligatory for them, not on us, yet they did it in a row. I felt that we should fast 60 in a row. Just to compete, as Quran says, فَاسْتَبِقُوا الْخَيْرَاتِ, compete with each other in goodness. So here it is, for them, but he voluntarily did that for 60 days in a row, so as to get that reward of being like, how does it feel? How much, because his feeling was, how much spirituality will you get when you did fast for whole 2 months in a row? And someone doing it for penalty, and they will get cleansed, they will get a lot of reward, inshallah ta'ala, benefit. Or someone who has no problem at all, he's doing voluntarily, how much closeness they would get to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Isn't it? Even that thought, to me, just even thinking like that is amazing. How could people think? All those positive thoughts can only come to people who are people of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We actually would go the other way. My goodness, it's easy, let it be. Not bothered about fasting extra days. Just for Ramadan, that's it. So this is the status of those people. That is why they are respected and revered even now. Anyway, and then mustahab, so this is mustahab. And finally, nafil fast, which is any other day. We shouldn't be disliked either. So this dislike another group, the tahrimi one, which is haram, close to haram, not haram, close to haram. Fasting the Eid day, Eid al-Fitr, Eid al-Adha, 1 day each, and 3 days after Eid al-Adha. So 5 days. These are the 5 days when we shouldn't be fasting at all. It is sinful to fast on those days. But tanzihan, which is singling out only Friday, not for us anymore, because in those days it was a specific day, Friday. People thought, since Jewish people have their special day as Saturday and they fast, and then since Christians have their Sunday and they fast in those days, let us do that special fast for Friday. So in a way, imitating them by singling out Friday. And that is why Rasulullah would not want people to do that, so as to not attach fasting with Friday. But not anymore. We don't do it for that reason. So it's not disliked according to majority. But as the book mentions it, I have to mention it. And likewise, Saturdays, again the same thing. Saturday is a special day for people of book. And fasting on a non-Muslims festival. So for example, you always Nowruz, or it's Diwali, it's Hanukkah, whatever. Hanukkah or something else, Manukkah, something is something. You're not fasting for that reason. If you want to celebrate that day, honor it, and that's disliked. Mildly so. But if it happens to be that you want to fast on Thursday, and that was a special day for some other people, that's fine. There's no harm in that. And Sawm al-Wisal, what is Sawm al-Wisal? Sawm al-Wisal is connecting fast. That was something which Rasulullah would do, and it was good for him. Some Sahaba came and they said, Ya Rasulullah, we wanted to do that as well. He said, don't do it, it's too much. But they wanted to. And when Rasulullah saw that they're not listening, they were listening, but since they were just, Rasulullah was not ordering them, he would just say, oh, why you put yourself in? He said, Ya Rasulullah, we want to do. Okay, fine. But then he said, I wouldn't. Then he said, okay, those who want to follow me in this, come with me. We fast together. And then he made them fast for good. So Sawm al-Wisal. Sawm al-Wisal is, you fast, you had your breakfast this morning, pre-dawn meal, carry on. Maghrib time, what do? No, you don't do that. Means you do not break your fast. Okay. You carry on for the whole night, the next day, the next evening, the next night, the next following day. So 3 days or 4 days, 5 days sometimes. You carry on for not eating for that many days. So doing it for 2 days even, that's too much. That's too much for normal people. So Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam would normally do that for 2 days, 3 days, every so often. And it was perfectly fine for him. And he forbade Ummah to do it. For Ummah, for us, it is disliked. It is disliked. Not haram, you can still do it, but generally it is something that we should try and avoid. We are not encouraged to do so. The Sahaba, when they wanted to do Ya Rasulullah, you do it. Okay, fine, come with me. He made them do for 3 days. They were completely debilitated, and they all, yeah, please forgive us. Okay, and it came on a day that it was just Ramadan before that. So he said, okay, now we have to break it because we have to start with Ramadan. Otherwise, I would have carried on for a bit longer. So don't try to copy me if I say don't. And then obviously they just learned their lesson. So the few Sahaba, not many. So someone wanted to follow because they said, Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, you've got higher system. For them, Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam could see that they're so eager to do so much. So he had to stop them from doing it. But don't take lead from that. For us, it's opposite. Because we do not want to do anything other than basic faraid. So for us, it shouldn't deter us. Oh, Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam wanted it to be easy. Let's not fast any other day other than fard. No, we are opposite. So we have to be encouraging more to do, inshallah ta'ala. And finally, Samud Dahar. Samud Dahar is the fasting for every day. Breaking in the evening, but non-stop throughout the year, other than the haram or the makruh days. We fast throughout the year. For whole year, every day of the year. That is disliked as well, unless you are from the elect of the elects. Like, the special people in the sense that those who are spiritually very sound, they normally have 1 meal a day. They've got enough strength after 3-4 hours worth of sleep. When Zakariya rahmatullah, I was just mentioning him, his ma'amul for Ramadan and for many, many years in his life was, well, from the beginning, it was only 2 meal a day. Okay, 10, 11 o'clock and evening after Maghrib, before Maghrib, that's it. And this was his sister who used to just bring the food. And when she passed away, he stopped doing the morning bit. Just 1 meal a day. For many years, he just had 1 meal a day. So you think you can live on 1 meal a day? If you can't, then don't think about it. It's not for you. For them, it's okay. Likewise, we would do in Ramadan, every day, 1 Quran. In Taraweeh, 1 Quran, and rest of the time, he would read those Quran. So in Taraweeh, he would recite every day 3 juz in Taraweeh and 3 juz the same throughout the day 10 times to make it 30. So this is his practice was not to do 1 Quran from beginning to end every day, but take these 3. This one juz that I need to do today, for example, in Taraweeh, I would do that 30 times. As a practice, the Huffaz do it. Now you may ask, how could you do 1 Quran in a day? It's not difficult, by the way. It only takes 7.5 to 8 hours. For a Hafiz, it's not a big deal. It's not a big deal. Okay. I've seen many people in my own lifetime who could do it, and they have done it, and they do it. And you may say that, oh, Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said shouldn't finish in less than 3 days. That's a normal practice. We shouldn't be. And it's not haram though. He didn't say you can't. It means that generally do it with some thoughtfulness. But to do it in 1 day is not haram. It is completely fine. That is why Sayyidina Abdullah Tamim al-Dari and like Abdullah ibn Zubayr and Uthman ibn Affan are all known to do in 1 night Quran. Not a problem. So don't worry about that. We'll leave that intention with inshallah ta'ala for next week because there's some detail on that. So yes, I'll leave it here inshallah ta'ala. Any question on that?
Can you make an intention for a fast 1 day prior before you break that fast? So I knew a brother a few years ago. He accidentally went to sleep after, missed the Maghrib to break his fast, missed the fast.